What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, November the 14th. I really can't believe it. We've got the throwback crew hanging out today. I'm stoked about that. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Clark Taylor, the host for today. Going to introduce my panelists. We're going to break down Dynamite as we usually do here on Thursdays. First and foremost, I'm going to send this one out to the city of Philadelphia. Big game tonight, but before that, here for today's show to talk about Dynamite, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on?
I will be digging some ditches on this show today because I have a couple things to complain about on this Dynamite. So even though I don't do Thursdays on a regular basis anymore, I still have my shovel. So it's always fun to do that, and then get to watch an Eagles game tonight. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fired up to get into it myself. Before we do, though, we've got another Eagles fan, and there's no doubt about that. He's a little nervous because, unfortunately, he does live in Washington Commanders territory, the DMV, but that's neither here nor there. Gutting it out on the way to a big game himself. Eagles gear and all, the Tuesday Night Delight. Shoddy, what's good?
I am not from the DMV today, and only for today. I'm from Philadelphia today. Anthony gave me my
I signed the paperwork.
He signed the paperwork, right? Yep. I'm using his address. I'm staying in the guest room for today's game. Commander fans, those ones in the DMV. Let's see what happens tonight. I ain't gonna talk crazy to y'all. I know y'all are having a little happy moment this year. Jaden Daniels and company. But this is a wrestling show. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite.
Absolutely. It is time to break down Dynamite. Let's get into some funkiness out of the gates here. So Adam Cole comes up just a bit short on this one, right? He drew the short straw, however you'd like to say it. He got the short end of the stick. He's the shortest guy in the classroom, whatever. He was short. He's not going to get the match he wants. However, his friend, the one who yells his name obnoxiously, will be getting that match against Maxwell Jacob Friedman. How we got there? A little convoluted. I do think they'll deliver a great match at the pay-per-view. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Anthony, I can see you having to take some deep breaths, so why don't you get that off your chest right now and give us your thoughts on this one?
Here's the thing. AEW's never had a problem in match quality as a whole. It's never had a problem with that. It's always had a problem in storytelling. And this may be one of the most convoluted stories that they've ever done. I get it, the whole situation, Adam got injured, that threw things off. This whole story was a disaster from day one. And instead of trying to polish this turd of a story, they've somehow made it worse. They throw Roderick Strong into this. Why? Why does he want to fight Max? He was there when Adam was still out. Did he ask to fight Max then? No. Now he's doing it. So you now threw this in. A best of 3 series to win 3 matches. Why? Why does Max have all this power that he can go, you have to win 3 matches? Random matches. I'm not picking your opponents. Just any 3 matches. Is that consecutive matches in a row? Because if it's consecutive, since Adam lost, does he now then go to 0? Or is he still at 2 and he needs to win 1 more and then he gets to fight you 2? Or was it the first one to 3, which is Roddy? None of this makes any sense. From a storytelling standpoint, this is horrible storytelling from the get-go. Simple solution, how does Max get away with that? It's in his really expensive contract he signed that he has creative control on who he fights. Did they tell you that? No. It's just this random whatever. Tony Khan lets him do whatever he wants. Yet, Tony could book a 3-way if they both win 3 matches. None of this makes any sense. Will the match be great? Probably. Is it the match people want? No, they want Adam and MJF. No, we're going to give you Roddy and MJF. It's going to be a great match, but the story sucks. And storytelling is what drives this business. That match right there, Roderick Strong against MJF, that's what you see at an indie show where they're just booking talent. This guy against this guy this Saturday night. That's what that is. That is not solid storytelling at all.
I hear you. I mean, it was convoluted how we got here, but I will say the connection between Strong and Adam is a big deal. And if you're gonna not have Adam and MJF and you're gonna hold it off, maybe we can make sense of that. I wouldn't have gotten there how we did last night. I have more issues with last night than the story as a total now. It's at least getting closer to some things being explained, unlike like the weird double switch kind of messed up by injury and things like that, right? There's been some mud in the waters when it comes to the story. I'm on the same page as you in that regard, and many others here in the comments as well. Like, we've got a bunch. Obviously, earlier DC Warlord said Soul got it right again. Our very own Shad made sure the viewers on every platform know that Soul is related to Tony Khan. I'm kidding, Shad. I had to get you on that one though. If you're on Facebook, I promise you, there's comments that's related to on YouTube.
I follow the Facebook page.
Good. We're good. And then Soul did call it. He busted out the crystal ball once again, and he did say that it would be Roderick Strong taking on MJF. I was pretty unsure when he said it yesterday, but still, shout out Soul. I get it. Our good friend from South Africa, Deontay Belladonna, with "This is ridiculous." He's losing brain cells from this.
That's the one I enjoy.
Very much on the same page as
Tony.
you,
What are you doing
Anthony.
What are you doing to our commoners, man?
DC Warlord with the electric eels, Piranha, and the lasso match. Yes, that's what I called yesterday for sure. Bring the piranhas out if we're gonna do that with Moxley. That's the other thing I was gonna say is, I don't even know if Tony booked it last night. Wasn't it technically the Blackpool Combat Club in charge? Didn't they take over?
Again, that's another ridiculous story.
This one's on Moxley.
Literally,
that's not on the topics. Yeah,
literally,
this one's on Moxley.
So let me get this straight. Twice in the same year, his company is being threatened to be taken over by Inside. Is he anywhere to be seen? No. I'm going to send Orange out there. He'll save the company. Way,
if this is like a really, really, really long story that with nothing revealed, and they're almost tongue-in-cheek poking fun at the fact that people think that backstage is like in shambles. I mean, I look at that New York Post interview with Moxley, like the first couple minutes feels like kayfabe, then it starts to sound real, and I'm a little unsure in a good way for the first time when it comes to this, because I've been bothered by the way that the storyline has gone so far, even like the lack of explanation on things like putting the title in the duffel bag and like all kinds of bags being used. I at least think there's some things here you can take advantage of and be like, ha, look, we did pull the wool over your eyes, but they haven't done it yet, and it's getting harder to stay patient.
My concern is that this is their biggest story for the company as a whole, and they've lost the audience for the most part, because I think people are now indifferent by. I mean, last night Moxley was getting heckled. Somebody yelled at him, "Go back to Roman," during the middle of his promo. Like, if you're losing the hardcore audience that paid to be there and are like, I don't even care about this, this is a problem for them.
I would agree, but I will say when it comes to the only thing that I do slightly disagree with is I think it's kind of a tie between this one and our third segment. And wait till we get there, because I have some complaints about that one. Shad, I do want to get your thoughts on all of this. Obviously, Soul did call it. We're going to get Roddy Strong versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman. But just an odd series of turns to get there, and an odd route taken is at least my feeling. How about you? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't necessarily like the direction of how we got here. I think the stipulation that, one has gotten 3 matches, one under his belt while the other hasn't, gets the reward of going against MJF. I don't know what the reward for going against MJF is for Roddy, right? It's not for a title. It's just a regular match versus another guy on the roster. No disrespect to MJF. I know he's one of the top guys in the company, if not their top guy in the company. It's just in storyline, it's a weird way we got here. I don't have an issue with him going against Roderick Strong at Full Gear, though, actually. If we're talking about, setting up him and Cole and kind of kicking the can for when we're going to have this big-time match between the both of them, I think going against people that are close to Adam Cole makes a lot of sense, and it gives an opportunity of giving Roderick Strong a big-time match at a pay-per-view. But like we said, it's just the story of it. If I were to kind of do a little bit of course correction, I wouldn't have had Cole wrestle as much. I would have maybe even teased with him wrestling and the injuries to it a little bit more. Like, Adam, you're putting your body on the line and you aren't 100%. And Roddy obviously having that close relationship with him, being old faction mate, saying, no, you're not going against Max at Full Gear. I'm not going to allow you to do that. I'll step up to the plate and going against them there. Like, I feel like that would have made a little bit more sense to how we would get to a match between Roderick Strong and MJF. I'm excited for the match. Nonetheless, I think both guys are incredible workers. Like you said, I think it's going to be a great match. I think Roderick Strong does need to be a casualty at Full Gear. It can be competitive in the beginning of it. We can have a great matches. I need MJF to beat the ever-living piss out of him at Full Gear. Bloodied up, hurt, stretchered out, whatever it may be. Go for the neck, right? He needs to put a lot of pain to Roderick so Cole's purpose and fire is lit up even more, and it has us as fans back more engaged into this feud. Because that's where you can kind of solve how we got here and make us forget about it, because it's, wow, we're here now, and this is about to be crazy. Like, they really need MJF to destroy Roderick at Full Gear.
I agree. I wouldn't even mind Shad a post-match beatdown.
Yeah, like that too, right? Exactly.
Yeah, like just an absolute, like, oh, I'm not done with this. And use some weapons, make it ugly.
Yeah, go for the neck, man.
I really like that idea.
I think the smart play with that, and I agree with Shad, is that Max needs a group and he needs to dismantle all of Adam's people. And it needs to just be Adam. And it's like, you leave them bloody that he has no friends left. Maybe Kyle, maybe they'll throw that in there somewhere. But like, if he takes out Roddy,
maybe the kingdom of the Undisputed Kingdom can break off.
Very interesting to me when you're talking about Max having a group, especially for the numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
We got this comment here from DC Warlord, which is, I need the Undisputed Era in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
What if Max goes, I hate you so much for what happened last year. I'm now stealing your friends, and hires them. He beats him up, like he beats up Roddy to start, and then he hires Roddy. They're not really friends. It's just like the Pinnacle, where they're hired guns. He doesn't have real friends.
I agree with Shad. I think
the Kyle O'Reilly aspect last night too.
I think the Kingdom will side with Max, and then it'll be Roddy, Kyle, and Adam against the three of them. That's where I'm thinking.
Logical too.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering though, if you don't for a minute make it look like everyone sides with Max, you can kind of tell that story with like he paid him off, right? Because he's seemingly wielding a lot of power.
You could tease it with Kyle, I think. Because Kyle's on that fence.
And then they flip back for their buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And that reunion will feel special, right? It'll feel a little like that, like the Uso hug we got to see. And then one more comment before we move on, because I thought this was hilarious. Imagine we're getting the same result as the higher power storyline, where it's revealed to be McMahon. And I think he's talking about the Moxley part of that. Okay, honestly, that's funny. I did not make the higher power link. I've made the link to it being Shane, but I've yet to make that link. That's funny.
Well, what they could do, and this would be wild, because remember, there's always this urban legend that the higher power was supposed to be Christopher Daniels.
It was, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can now do that.
Oh my goodness, I didn't think about that. That's even funnier. Or like you just tease it's him even. It's just funny.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty dang golden there. Okay, let's move on. We got DMD, my favorite dentist, almost everyone's favorite dentist, I would say. I'm just kidding. She is over, though. There's no denying that. Dr. Britt Baker against Penelope Ford. Britt with the lockjaw, pushing on that. What's the nerve again? The one in the mouth, that the mandible claw and the lockjaw attack. The mandible nerve. That's the one. Yeah, it's the mandible. Isolates the mandible nerve of Penelope Ford and gets the victory. Then there's some funk with this whole Serena Deeb thing. And here's my only issue with this. There's like a lot of you don't matter out of Britt. And I think there's only one way you can make this work. And that's to have Serena Deeb. Speaking of, you just talked about a beatdown on Roderick Strong from MJF. Have Serena Deeb be like, look, I've had more shower time in my career than you've had ring time when it comes to this. I've been around forever. You don't know what you're talking about or who matters. I don't care if you're over. And just absolutely catch wrestle her to death. Just beat her to a pulp in a match. Out technical her and all of that. Give Serena Deeb that win. Force Britt Baker's hand for a run back. Maybe a 2-match series here. I would be all over that if they're going to do that. But if this is just Britt Baker says you don't matter and then she beats somebody that does not matter, I'm not cool with this. It bothers me, and I'm a huge Britt fan, and I want to get your thoughts on all of it. Obviously, I thought it was a fun match, and it's great to see Penelope back on Dynamite pretty regularly, at least lately on AEW TV. But, this to me is about Britt and Deeb. There's a story that can be told here. Serena Deeb seems like a little bit at times like that person, oh, we need a really good match. Let's get Serena Deeb. Let's let her shine a little bit here and tell a story with Dr. Britt to elevate Britt back to where I think she should be in the long run, and that's the world title picture. I think you can do a 1-1 and have Britt Baker come out of this looking good and Serena Deeb still coming out of this looking good. At least those are my thoughts, and Shad, I wanted to get yours. No doubt about it.
I have a picket sign somewhere in my room because I'm screaming justice for Penelope Ford. If I came out of anything last night's match, I came out a bigger fan of Penelope Ford, brother. And I am going to be honest with you, her back must be hurting this Thursday because I thought she was carrying it. I thought she carried that match a lot. I don't think Britt, that was her best showing in ring wise, bro. It hasn't clicked since she's returned. I don't know if it's a pacing thing. Obviously, with health stuff and injuries, you kind of got to knock some rust off. But Penelope Ford last night, athletically, just all around move sets, her offense is so dope. The little ringside stomp that she was able to hit, just all of it. It was a reminder how great she is. And I'm not super thrilled because this is back-to-back weeks where she's lost to two valuable people in the women's division, right? Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, fan favorites and whatnot. Penelope Ford, to me, has all the potential to be a TBS champion, a AEW women's champion. I've always thought that from the beginning of when she started in AEW. Injuries happen and whatnot. But, man, she's back and she's better. I think Penelope Ford is someone that Tony's got to really take a good look at and say, I need to push her. I need to create a star out of her because she is a damn star. In regards to Britt Baker and the Serena Deeb stuff after the match, it doesn't move me, man. It just doesn't move me, and I don't know why. I feel like all of Serena Deeb's feuds have just not felt super special. And like you said, there's got to be some essence of creating it where us as fans are a little bit drawn into it more. My bad. I live in the hood, so if y'all hear the ambulance, that's because of that. But they got to draw something to it. But more for Britt, I want Britt to go back into that evil big bad wolf, man. I need Britt as a heel, and it's difficult because I feel like AEW is so heel heavy right now. The two champions are heels. maybe we can kind of get her to be a tweener, but it just babyface Britt don't hit the same. I need Britt to be the B word to people, sunning them, saying all the mean stuff to them. Like that's the type of Britt that is what I like personally.
I think that is the biggest problem with this. And honestly, the toughest challenge that Britt Baker faces to me is when she does her best heel work, she makes you want to cheer for her.
Mm-hmm.
And MJF has a bit of this problem.
It's a cool factor. Yeah, it's a cool factor. Yeah,
and it's
the same thing with Roman Reigns. We all loved Roman during the whole heel stuff, right? Because he was just so cool off of his heel presence.
But then for some reason, once she has to piggyback off of that and be a babyface, it stops landing suddenly. It feels like a roller coaster ride of up and down, as opposed to like a linear ascension.
Question to both of y'all. I feel like they have, besides Willow, who's obviously out for the moment, they don't have a babyface woman wrestler to kind of get behind at the moment. Like when Julia Hart returns, her character is a dark character. It should be more of a heel
Timeless
character.
Tony Storm even is on the line.
Yeah, she's even.
We're gonna love her. We're gonna love her. Coming back for Mariah May. I do believe we're gonna root hard for Tony Storm when it comes to that. Yeah. But character-wise, it's not a traditional babyface in any way.
I just feel like AEW has this problem with the women's division where they'll get behind somebody for like for like 3 months, and then that person drops off, and then it's a new person. Like it's never consistent. It's always somebody else that they're getting behind. Mariah, you don't see like all these people who all of a sudden now you're not seeing any of these people, and it's like, wait, what's going on? Like Serena Deeb out of nowhere. Like,
but that's the thing that is interesting to your point. Like Serena Deeb out of nowhere, you're like, oh no, wait. But at the same time, right in the back of your mind, you're like, dang, where's Serena Deeb been? Like she's awesome.
Yes.
Like you know what I mean? It's undeniable that the talent's there. So you made a great point, Ant.
Yeah.
But we got a couple comments to run through before an ad read and then a Clark rant. We got a Clark rant coming up after the break. We've got Serena is the female version of Dean Malenko. That is a great comparison. I love that. Justice for Ford from DC Warlord. He wants Penelope as the AEW Women's World Champion. And then we got Numero on Superfly with Britt needs to be a heel. Have her be the evil dentist, where she will attempt to mess up others' teeth. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. They haven't really gone fully there. I don't mind that in the least.
She bills your insurance incorrectly and then bills your insurance money.
Yes. So then we've got the Hurt Syndicate should be MVP, Lashley, Sheldon, and Leo Rush.
We'll get to that.
We will get there. Before we get there, though, really quickly, let me pull this up, my friends. Let me talk to you about Progress Wrestling really fast. If you're watching the show, we know you're a big wrestling fan. Demand Progress Plus, one of the best tape libraries in the game. They've got every Progress ever, all your favorites, where many got their start, some classic matches, also all the new content. Come on. Excellent stuff. If you haven't checked out the Sunday Night Spotlight interview that Shad and Megan just did, what are you waiting for? Do that right after this show because it is outstanding. And then right before you pull that interview up, head over to Demand Progress Plus. Use the code WATCHPROGRESS1. You're going to get 50% off your first month. This is the home of Progress, Defy, and more promotions. It's a no-brainer. Get after it. I assure you, we stand by that one.
Big time pay-per-view this Sunday.
The move. Big time show this Sunday. Check that out as well.
One other thing. Can I just plug something real quick? Yes, this is Progress related. This Friday, special episode of Sunday Spotlight. Man, we got an interview with one of Progress's own wrestler. Y'all are not going to want to miss it. Let's just say he's part of a big time match in a tag team match with the world champ. The one and only.
Spoiled it.
Yeah, just be on the lookout for it. Me and Megan, we interviewed him. It's going to be a goodie.
Yeah, I tried to plug it myself, Shad, and I forgot that it's not out yet. Like I've seen it. That was dangerous. Thank goodness I didn't say the name.
Are you good? You ain't gonna see it. Drops tomorrow.
We're dialed. It drops tomorrow, everybody. So don't watch that immediately following the show. Watch another episode of Sunday Night Spotlight. Watch the one that came out on Sunday if you haven't seen it yet. And then check out Sold Separately after that. Don't be silly. Okay. Speaking of being silly and shenanigans, we have the Hurt Syndicate and we have Swerve Strickland. And we have a bit of a lecture. You can see that over on the side panel, the sweet graphic. Our good friend Ben, monster shout out. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Here's the thing. I didn't mind the segment other than one thing. Swerve Strickland accidentally said Stamford, Connecticut, and they're in Bridgeport. And I will never get over that. You could have said there are so many cities in Connecticut. Why would you say the one where WWE headquarters is? If you're going to whip anything, I mean, the crowd wouldn't let him hear the end of it. It sandbags a portion of the segment. The crowd's like, we're not in Stanford. And it's just like, oh, if he'd have said New Haven, I'm sure New Haven would have been stoked about that and Bridgeport would have laughed it off. He said Stanford. He said Stanford. What was Swerve thinking? Oh, man. The rest of the segment was really, really well done. It just took the steam out of it for me because I couldn't stop giggling. I'm like, any other city. Name any other city in the whole state. Oh, man. I got to get both you guys' thoughts on this one. Anthony, I'm going to start with you, but Stanford, what is this, some sort of Swerve tease? What was he thinking?
You know, you can get away with that if you're R-Truth. Because it's R-Truth. Swerve's a serious guy. And again, I get it. They do a lot of traveling, this and that. I get it. But AEW doesn't do house shows. You're doing one show a week. How do you not know where you're located? You know, as a whole, and I've said this before, I am not a Hurt Syndicate fan. I like Shelton a lot. I've never been a Lashley guy, never been an MVP guy. You know, I feel weird with this whole angle because I don't know how, I like Swerve a lot, but you know he's not going to win. They're not putting out that kind of money for Lashley for him to lose his debut match. So, like, I have very difficult time feeling super invested in the first match of the series because although it's going to be good, you kind of know who's going to win. And there's nothing really different. Each week they're doing the same thing. Oh, he gets beat down. Nana gets beat down. Like, it's the same thing every week. There's no difference to this. So it's kind of hard for me to get fully invested in this story because Swerve is somebody that you should be elevating. And instead, you're squashing him for another WWE guy again. Like, you killed his momentum as a world champion to give Danielson a title reign that he really didn't need. And then you had him lose to Hangman, which really did nothing for Hangman either, because then Hangman's in another pointless feud with Jay White. And none of them are involved in a world title scene. On top of that, the entire company's being taken over, and apparently no one seems to care about it other than Orange Cassidy. So it's kind of weird. And one of the segments that's not on here that I do want to say one thing though. I loved Ospreay's promo with Fletcher.
Oh yeah,
Ospreay delivered in that promo.
It was good promo.
Yeah,
very good promo. And I agree.
Best feud built for Full Gear, without a doubt.
100%.
I have one thing to say though about the Hurt Syndicate stuff.
I'm gonna give it to you anyway, honestly, because we have plenty of time. Is the good news, and let me run through some comments, and then I'm gonna toss it to you anyway.
I don't care about FTR. It's all good.
We got everyone in the crowd was booing him from DCX Warlord, which that's one of your top baby faces in Swerve. And number one Superfly, in defense of what I mentioned earlier when it comes to the Stanford mention, says Swerve must have had a little brain fart and said the wrong location. Mistakes happen. If I was in his shoes, I would have accidentally said the wrong location as well. Me too. The problem was the location that he said. That can happen to anybody. It's one thing when R-Truth, who is a comedy character anyway, but he says Greensboro, Charlotte, we're all good. WWE isn't headquartered.
No, it wasn't the best mistake to make.
Of all cities to say, you could have said There are hundreds of cities in the state of Connecticut. Tons of them.
Especially because he's been critical of them. So,
Yes.
so even if it was an accident, there's a portion of the audience going, "Oh, again, like they can't let that go, can they?" Like
it's subconsciously thinking
yeah.
about them. When then the crowd's upset, like we're not in Stamford.
Yes, it is literally the opposite of Mick Foley's cheap pop. The cheap pop is you name the city that you're in. You don't mention the other place when you're the baby face.
Yes. 1,000%. And Shad, I'm going to go back to you though, because I know you had one more thing to add about.
I have a concern. And I don't know if you guys have watched the interview that they did with Renee Paquette. MVP is setting the bar really high for the Hurt Syndicate in AEW. And I'm not saying that they're not going to kill it. I'm not saying that they're not talented. But the more and it kind of ties to what you just said right now with Swerve, saying that specific city. The more you talk about we weren't given a fair chance at the other place, we weren't given the fair chance, we don't like the management, stuff like that. We're going to, this is us right the wrong. You're setting up expectations, and you at that point have zero room for this to fail. Like, this has to be a success, and it may have to be better than what was created previously with those expectations you make. So if I'm MVP, being a veteran, I know I'm not upset with him being upset of how stuff happened previously, right? We're all, as fans, upset how the Hurt business did not last in the WWE. You got to just kind of roll with where you're at now, go with the times, embrace everything that is AEW, and kind of have muscle memory and just, short-term memory. Forget about the past. Let's focus on the future. I am personally invested in this feud still. I'm excited for Lashley versus Swerve. I also got to say this. Lio Rush and Swerve had an absolute banger last night. We definitely need some more Lio Rush on our television screens on a weekly basis because that dude is just absolutely amazing.
I agree with you. Supremely talented. And it's funny because it took us a while to almost realize that. I feel like, and I don't mean us, I'm not trying to like implicate you, but me personally, even I was unsure until recently, and now I get it.
I feel like Lio Rush, I always thought he was incredibly talented, but Leo is one of those young talents that he got in his own way behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's always been Leo's biggest obstacle from the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
100%. Let's move on to our final segment though. We have tag action booked by Jon Moxley, supposedly. Who knows? I don't know how that actually worked, but it is a number one contenders match for tag team title opportunity here at the old pay-per-view. Malachi Black did his very best Leonardo DiCaprio impression, Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't leaving lately, pretty much. I ain't leaving. Not only is he not leaving, he's back in the tag team title picture. There's not more than one picture. There's only one set of titles. That was a grammatical error by me, my fault. But neither here nor there. Kings of the Black Throne against FTR. You can't have much more talent in the ring in a tag match right now. And I complain about tag team wrestling all the time. I may not have understood how we got here or whatever, but I love tag team wrestling. And this was a heck of a tag match with a lot of star power in it. And I can't complain about that. It was a deserved main event. Probably should have been advertised as a number one contenders match in advance. That's my biggest complaint though. In execution, I cannot complain about the wrestling. That's one thing I'll definitely say about this one. Like, I can't. 4 absolute world class performers in this match that absolutely delivered. I could see this match fill it up again. No context. And I could break down why there's no context and be annoyed by that, but I won't mind the match again. That's one thing I will say when it comes to this one. There was at least some context, and I love that. I would call it an upset. I don't think Vegas had the Kings of the Black Throne getting the victory here. I didn't look, right? We don't encourage gambling. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you think you have a problem. But either way, I didn't see this coming, and I actually really enjoyed how they went about it. And to sort of piggyback off of what happened with Malachi recently, people thinking he's leaving, it makes it even more exciting to me. And it's Brody King with the win with the sleeper. Yep. Right? It's not even. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I think the match will be fun at the pay-per-view. I really did enjoy it last night. I don't know if the Blackpool Combat Club is going to try to keep their hands on this storyline, and maybe that's how we see them first cross paths with the Elite. That was a thought I had coming out of the show last night. I'm not totally sure. That's something interesting. And Shad, I wanted to get your thoughts on all of it as a main event match and the tag team title picture in AEW.
It's refreshing, to be honest with you. I think that they're starting to take steps to kind of make the tag team division more meaningful and fun again, and just kind of showing a variation of guys that are new, right? We have the Outrunners that are in this match at Full Gear. You got one of the most underutilized tag teams of the AEW existence finally being champions in Private Party. And now you got the Kings of the Black Throne, which are, I like what you said. It's a good audible in a sense because there is a lot of uncertainty with the rumor mill. People saying that is Malachi's contract up? Is it not up? Is he leaving? Is he upset? Well, you lean into it and you give him a marquee match and you give Brody King a marquee match. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I love the variety that we're getting so far in this match. Those three teams are so different stylistically, character-wise, and just the in-ring ability of all three teams are very solid. So I think it's going to be fun. Well, will they become champs? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think this allows Private Party to be in the ring with some heavy hitters, and it just solidifies and legitimizes their tag team reign a little bit more. I'm also just happy that FTR lost, and that's not a knock on FTR. I feel like the same thing with the Young Bucks. They've pulled the FTR Young Bucks card, get out of jail card for the tag division way too much. And fans have got very tired of them. No disrespect to them. There's nothing on their talents. But if you're kind of force feeding us them all the time, we're not going to want to eat our vegetables, right? So it comes to a situation like that. It's dope that they took the loss, and it makes a valid thought that, Kings of the Black Throne might be able to take these titles because they just beat one of the best tag teams in the world to get here in the process. So I'm excited for it. And I liked it. I thought it was a really good main event. I thought last night's show had a lot of great in-ring matches too.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you basically said there. Honestly, I'm on the exact same page. And we've got like a really, really interesting comment here from DC Warlord. And he said, why can't Malachi Black be in the World Championship division and have Matthews and King go for the tag titles? I've thought about that myself. But one thing I will say is if you look at the World Championship division right this second, it's pretty jammed up at the top right now. It's pretty jammed. And to allow Malachi to perform in the tag title picture right this second, I don't have a big issue with.
You want to know a hot take, bro?
Yes.
If I'm picking one guy out of House of Black to be the singles star and the singles champion, I'm picking Brody King.
Same.
I'm picking Brody King 10 times out of 10. That's no disrespect to Malachi Black. That's no disrespect to Buddy Matthews. Brody King is different. He is
blown away by him.
Like, as a big man, he's different in ring wise, and the dude looks like a freaking beast. He might be my favorite male superstar in AEW at the moment.
And Carter, our friend on the show, member of the show, Cardi Carnett, is has rubbed shoulders with Brody King at hardcore shows. That's the style of music he listens to. Brody's a singer for God's Hate, and he always says, like, famously, that he put me in the nicest chokehold ever. Apparently that's what they do at those type of shows. They like choke, they friendly choke each other.
Not going there.
Yeah, no, I'm more of a hip hop guy, old school. But either way, that's it's not about that. I'm in agreement on the Brody King thing. I think all three can be single studs
for sure.
And I love the idea of the group. I'm really glad it worked. Matt Jurgens has a really interesting comment here. I know it's a bit of a throwback to an earlier segment, but he said Wardlow has to interfere with the MJF match at Full Gear. I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, I like your dog. I like the picture with Bro and his dog too.
I do. I love that. But Anthony, obviously, before we go home, let's talk about some tag team wrestling.
Yes.
We saw some good stuff last night. We know how good FTR is, but I think the right decision was made here. And it was a little bit weird how we got there. Once again, I keep repeating myself when it comes to that. But the result on this one is arguably the best of the weird how we got here segments I feel like we saw last night on Dynamite. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I feel like that decision was made because all the buzz on the internet was, oh, Black is finishing up with the company.
Yeah.
So, like, going into the match, you're looking at it going, okay, they're going to pull the break glass in case of emergency, stick FTR in there. And then they did. I thought it was a good match. Making Dax look like invincible with all the kickouts, I was not a fan of that. Like, that wasn't necessary. I agree with Shad. Brody King is somebody that I've been following since the Ring of Honor days, and it looked like they were going to get behind him just before the company went under. And it looked like AEW was going to get behind him a few times, and for whatever reason, they don't, and I don't know why.
The guy choked out Darby Allin.
I thought that moment right there, because I was going to get to that, when he choked out Darby and just dropped him like a rag doll to win that battle royal, that was the moment when you should have stuck the rocket on his back and pushed him. I see more in him than I ever saw in Wardlow. For a side note, Mr. I'm not waiting in line. Meanwhile, he's in line and catering. But to me, Brody's the one you get behind. If I'm AEW, that's the one you push. That's the guy you because he's believable. That's one of the things that's missing in wrestling. Like, realistically, if Darby won the AEW World Championship, oh, that's nice, the sacrifices, but he's not believable. Brody's believable.
Brody King is 6'10" and a member of a band called God's Hate.
Not to mention,
he doesn't get any more intimidating.
Covered in tattoos,
tad the hell up.
He's the guy that, like, if you're in an alley, he doesn't have to say anything. You're handing him your wallet. Like, he's that type. Like, that's the guy you get behind. Black, obviously, you get behind. If he's leaving, though, you don't. I'll be perfectly honest. Side note: if he did jump, I would love if the lights went out and he confronted Gunther. That would be where I would. That's where I would put him. But if he was leaving, but yeah, Brody's the one you get behind. That's the guy you push.
I think Carter and I were talking about him one time, and Carter said it best. He worked the Forum parking lot before they built SoFi. Mm-hmm. So that's like one of the nastiest places you could possibly work. In Inglewood.
The only other thing with this is I like that Private Party was sitting on the stage, but as a group that likes to party, I thought they should have been doing a little bit more. They were barely doing anything.
I feel like they made them a little bit more serious now.
They have. I do think they are trying to lean more into the serious. Yeah, it's kind of a balance there because I miss the shots, the velvet rope. I miss all that. I will. They are on the best run of their career.
You have them sitting there with a thing of champagne and like they barely drank it. Like, pop the bottle. Like, at least sell it up.
Pop the bottle. Yeah, whoop it up. Have a little more fun.
Drink that Welsh sparkled grape juice.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Shake the bottle at least. Let's get some bubbles. Let's see a few more bubbles. I'm with you on that. Okay. With that, that does bring us to the end of the show, though, today. Thank you sincerely, everybody that tuned in. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow. And when I say we, I don't mean me, but Wrestling Republic. It's going to be an awesome show. Check that out. We'll be back Saturday, also Sunday, same time. That is noon Pacific. Of course, 3 over on the East Coast. That's 8 o'clock in the UK and 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Anthony Ricciardi, and Shad, have an awesome Thursday. Go check out those Sunday night spotlights. Go check out those sold separately. There's all kinds of great Wrestling Republic stuff to check out. And we really appreciate everybody that tuned in. Have a great day. And we'll talk to you soon. And yes, for them, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Today, I'm cool with that. I'm a Chiefs fan. My fantasy team has the same record as my NFL team. Whoops.